guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today, we're going to be talking about a pretty tricky subject, and that is buying watches as an investment. Is it a good idea, or what should you do if you don't want to lose your money, or maybe even make a few bucks? Now, before we get started, customary wristwatch check. Today, I'm wearing my Sub 16610 on a Bond NATO strap. And actually, this is a great example of a potential investment piece. However, I don't like to use the word investment too often when it comes to watches. It gives the wrong connotations. My humble opinion is when you buy a watch, you should be happy to not lose money in the long run, not make a profit. Now, in full disclosure, I've actually never lost money on any piece I've sold. I've either broke even or made a tiny bit of profit. Actually, come to think of it, I lost money once. I lost a couple of $100 on a Chopard. But it comes down to buying intelligently. When I bought these pieces that I then passed down, I didn't buy them to make a profit. I just bought them smartly to not lose money if I were to flip them. So, buying watches is an investment. It's a very, very tricky game. Many people are going to use the current Rolex ceramic Daytona as an example, that they're selling for way above list. However, people forget that this is a very, very temporary fluke. I mean, I remember when the non-ceramics were selling above list, that only lasted 5 or 6 years. Now you can actually get a decent discount on them. However, yes, you can make money if you have access to these new Daytonas, and you can sell them above list. However, you need to find a jeweler who's willing to sell you one, so you have to be a pretty important customer. And if you do sell one, you can bet your pretty dollar that your jeweler won't be too happy that you took a Daytona from them just to make a profit. So honestly, it's really not worth it. And this Daytona example is nothing more than a bubble. So personally, while in this case you can make money, I find it a pretty bad example, and I find it a lot of work just to make 2 or 3 extra $1,000. Also, when it comes to watches, the key thing, and the reason I don't like to call them an investment, is I just try not to lose money. As far as return goes, it's very long term. You will get a much better return if you probably invest in a mutual fund. And I'm no investment expert. However, the rate of return on a watch, simply nothing special. Buy it because you enjoy it. Buy it to wear it, buy it to have some fun, and if you cannot lose your money on it, that's great, and if you can make a few bucks, even better. But I would never go out and search for a watch for it to be my next investment piece. It just isn't a sound move most of the time. Let's say you do want to do that, and once again, guys, I don't recommend you do it, but let's play devil's advocate, and let's say you do want to buy a watch as an investment. Then there's a few things that come into play. First off, brand. Brand is the biggest factor. You want to get a top-end brand. These would include Rolex, Patek Philippe, FP Journe is actually doing very, very well in the second-hand market, and maybe a Richard Mille depending on the model. Now, the second thing that comes into play, which is just as important as the brand, is the model. The model has to be desirable, or at least desirable in the future. No one has a crystal ball, no one can tell you what will be. However, for it to appreciate, the model has to be something someone wants. It's all about supply and demand. Now, a great way to determine what brands will go up in price is to check auction results. And I'm not talking about eBay auction. I'm talking about Christie's, Sotheby's, Antiquorum, and Philippe's. What were they valued at? What were their estimates? Did they sell above their estimates? And try and figure out what watches had in common that went above their estimates. Maybe steel Pateks were really, really strong that year. Maybe it was complicated Rolexes, like the old ones with the moon phase. What about the piece made it go above the estimated valuation? And another way you can kind of check, but it's way less accurate, is to track brand official price increases year by year. Obviously, if a brand is doing very well, they will increase their prices more often than a brand that doesn't do very well. However, once again, this is not a science. This is more of an art form. And I do not condone people do it. However, I'm sure people are going to write in the comments, but Federico, if you were to do it, how would you? Hence these explanations. Then there's a few things you can do to any watch to make sure you get top value for what it's worth. Keep all the boxes, papers, and receipts. Everything that came with the watch, even the original plastic, will add value once you go to sell. Another thing is, don't modify. Once again, a lot of these people, they put different buckles, some guys get their watches ADLC coded, or even conversion pieces. Someone in TGV's group today asked me, Federico, is this a good investment? And it was an Omega piece pocket watch converted into a wristwatch. And it was very, very cool, but investment value, absolutely zero, because it was not original. Keep everything as original as possible, keep all paperwork, and include the service receipts. All this can add to the value of your watch when it comes to selling. Next, to actually make money on a watch takes a very, very, very long time. The way I kind of figured it out is a watch is kind of like a car. As soon as you buy one and you walk out of the dealership, you can lose 30, 40, 50, 60, even 70% of the value. And you have to wait for your watch to kind of hit that depreciation curve and go back up. Now, what is a way for it to go back up? Well, limited production numbers, rarity, all those things, yes. But mathematically, you need to track brand price increases. Because let's say, easy example, I bought a Rolex sub. I bought this Rolex sub, which actually I didn't buy, but let's pretend I bought this Rolex sub. And I walk out of the dealership, I probably lost 30% right there, which is not huge because it's a Rolex, so I got pretty lucky. However, Rolex tends to raise their prices 8% a year. So I lost 30%, and maybe I'll lose an additional 2% every year because it's getting older and older, but Rolex goes up 8% a year. So you have to find the point where the depreciation curve hits, the price increase compared to a mutual fund. Once again, not an investment expert, not particularly solid. However, you manage to not lose your money on that piece. But, there's other ways. Maybe this non-ceramic sub will be very, very valuable in a few years because it was the last non-ceramic model. So maybe if I keep it for 20 or 30 years, it might be worth 20 or 30,000, just like those red Submariners or those double red sea dwellers on the market. But that we just can't know. Tracking depreciation curves and tracking price increases is the only kind of safe way to tell. In conclusion, I don't believe watches make a good investment, but I do think there are intelligent ways to buy and intelligent things to buy to make sure you don't take a bath on it. However, if I really, really love a piece and I know it doesn't hold value, I'll probably buy it anyway, just because I buy watches for the enjoyment. And buying watches as an investment is not particularly sound. And I think most other people would probably agree with me in the watch world. Anyway, guys, thank you for sticking around for another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Let me know in the comments what you think, and check out the description for my Instagram account. You can follow me. I put up pictures 3 or 4 times a week. Nice way to get a little extra comment. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We're almost at 10,000 followers. I will announce a giveaway very, very soon. Once again, thank you for sticking around for Federico Talks Watches, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.